Here we are in Lunenburg, not far from Chester, but still about 40 miles down the coast from Halifax. An old, rustic seaport town. Nothing ever changes here, it just stays the same through time, which is what I like. And this is the Bluenose, the famous racing schooner that made Nova Scotia famous. It's probably one of the fastest, if not the fastest, sailboat in the world. There's several small sailboats that'll take you out, cruise you around. Yeah, you can see her keel down there. The weight stabilizes. It's all full of lead down there. Alright, we're going to head over to the Fisheries Museum. It's just right over here. There's the dory rowboat. That's about the seaworthiest rowboat right there you could ever row. They're a little heavy to row, but you can row those out in any kind of ocean.
I didn't know y'all wanted it.
And this is part of the Lunenburg transit system here. Probably on the way to the international airport.
Never seen it.
Watch out, Larry.
Fingers in that, please. No.
They don't like that, huh?
Well, you might not like it either if they make you. God, look at the size of that one. Holy Toledo.
Hey buddy, what's with the eyeballs, man? You can just move them around, can't you?
Yeah.
Flounder, they're born with eyeballs on either side, then the eyeball moves to what would be the sort of the head of the thing.
Yeah.
They're just a cockeyed fish, that's all there is, but they sure taste good.
Oh, he's really watching this thing.
Looking for a handout, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, there's a switch on here that you can do for dark.
Oh, there's the scallop.
Yep.
Janet, there's the scallop and it's partially open. See? See, they're partially open.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Where?
Over there.
Oh yeah, there we are. Okay, yeah. My favorite. Well, hello, boys.
Bobby, you get out here, please.
Move around, you know.
Can they?
Little turtles.
Oh, no. Very nice. I have fish minis and stuff.
Get up. Try to get off your phone.
Hey, look at the lobster here.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, he's a good sized one, Bert. Looky here.
Oh, look at the size of that.
Bert? Bob, we had one that big. Wasn't even quite that big. I thought, I think, Bob, bigger. Look at the size of those scallop shells. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Well, this is neat. You can look down here.
Yeah. That's right.
Okay.
Wow, look at the tuna.
It's almost close. That's a good fish.
Hey, there she is. Racing schooner Blue Nose.
There will be a model schooner launch at 11:30 out on the wharf under the red canopy. That is a model schooner launch at 11:30 out on the wharf under the red canopy.
All of our gear in our whaling room came from Carl Carlson and Company.
Thank you.
If you wanted to order one, you could. They're pretty big boats, as you see from the Blue Nose.
We'll get to that in a second.
You have to probably put up $500,000 started, but they have people. Now you'll see Scotia trawler written on it, but it was where the Blue Nose was built, and the Blue Nose 2, and a lot of other schooners. Our Tressie Connor, which is just by dockside here. Now, we're going to have to ask you to use your imagination. That there's nothing here at the moment, and we'll quickly explain to you how these boats come to be. So down there in the shipyard, in the fall, they would lay, the first thing would be keel blocks. Underneath here we have keel blocks, we have 2, there would be a lot more of them, probably 12 or more, and they're going to take the whole weight of the boat while we're building her. So on the keel blocks we lay the keel. That goes from the front to the back, bow to stern, and that is the backbone of our boat. So it's made of a hardwood such as oak. And from the keel we have ribs coming up either side, and they're also made of oak, very hard, and they're like arm ribs. They give a lot of structure to this boat. Over the ribs we lay a skin of planking, which is pine oftentimes around here, and since the wood meets like this, we have to caulk in between to keep the water from coming in. And we're going to paint her up and put on the deck, and we caulk that too because you don't want water coming down on you. And then you would put different things like the wheel, the cabin top, the companionway, which is the stairway down to the galley, which is our kitchen. And we have fish holds in the center, so there's also hatch covers for our fish holds. So, phew, a couple minutes, but really this would have taken 4 or 5, 6 months sometimes work down at the shipyard over the winter. It's quite a big process. So we've got our boat built. Well, now we need to launch her. wisely, we build it right near the water, so it's not too far to go. And we would calculate the high point of the high tide, and a few days before that date, we would bring in the launching gang. And they're going to build all the rest of what you see here. Now, we're going to have our groundways, which are fixed. They are not going to move. This is what everything else is going to slide down on. And they would be made of wood. On top of the groundways, we have sliders. That's the first layer. It's a big, long plank, also of wood. Of course, we're going to have to grease in between. We would use beef tallow around here. You could use different things. Smaller boats now these days, I know people use fryer grease. Anything to make her slippery. Beef tallow is a very good lubricant, so we use beef tallow. On top of that, we have packing. Now ours is one piece with little lines on it, but in real life, these are planks stacked one on top of each other. They're not nailed together in any way. They are held together by strong backs. These are tall vertical timbers on either side. Holding in the strong backs are big chains that go around the strong back, under the boat, up around the other side. Everything's pulled in tight and it makes some nice tight cradles holding our boat up. There's a couple other little details there that I haven't mentioned. We have, to keep things from going too quickly, we have kind of brakes, which we call iron dogs. They're like huge staples. And here's this full-size iron dog. Yes, they're pretty big. And that's going to keep our groundways and sliders together. And one step of our process here, we're going to eliminate those. The other thing you see there are little wedges. Now there's a full-size wedge, and there would be a lot of them, probably 20, 30 on each side of the boat. When those wedges are driven in by huge 5-pound mauls, the boat is going to lift up ever so slightly, and the weight's going to come off the keel blocks and transfer itself onto the ground waves. That's the first step of launching a boat. You have to get her up off the ground. So, and the last thing that's let go when you launch a boat is the trip shore. There'll probably be about 3 on either side, 6-foot-long timbers. When that is knocked down, hopefully our boat is going to take a trip from the shore to the water, and everything's going to go well. So here we are. We've got everything all ready to go. It's a big celebration. It's the birth of a vessel. It's employment for the town. They would cancel school, cancel businesses. Everyone would come down to see the birth of this vessel. It's a big occasion. We'd have brass bands, choirs. We'd have some ceremonial duties. We'd have a man of the cloth who would bless our ship and all who sail on her. We have a little man on the cloth that bless many a ship here. And we have a lovely lady with a bottle of champagne. And she's going to smash that champagne on the bow and christen our boat and give her her name. Now, a woman had to do this because it is the birth of a vessel. And it's a very great honor to be chosen to be the one to christen a vessel. We've christened ours Blue Nose, as you see, one of our Blue Nose. Now this mast is temporary. It's going to be lying down, and on the day of the launch they hoist it up to show the ceremonial flags. There wouldn't be any room down there if you built it inside a building to have a huge, tall mast. So they'd be put in later when she's brought up to the dock. Phew!
Ready to roll.
Ready to roll. Here's the hard part. We need 40 strong men who are going to pound on wedges and do all the hard work. And of course, we're being smart. We're going to get 4 volunteers, hopefully, to help us do all the hard work
Somebody
here.
just had a good breakfast this morning.
Yeah. You get to swing a hammer, pound on things. Yes, yay,
I'm a
great.
carpenter.
Oh, great. You want to come?
I had a beer for breakfast. Does that count?
That would probably be
And you two are
very
going to stay here
appropriate.
nice and snug, please.
Great. Well, should we find out where people are from? We're just a little curious sometimes where people come from. We were wondering if you could tell us your first name and
I
where you're
come
from.
from a very long distance from here. My name is Larry, and I come from Martin's River.
That's great. And you?
Not from Montreal.
I'm from Montreal.
North from Wisconsin.
Wow. All right.
Janet from North Carolina.
Oh, that's great. What a team we have here from all the corners of the earth practically. So, okay, the first step in this is going to be, it's called wedging up. And what they do is we're going to pound in a couple little wedges for you and a couple for you and a couple there. Wedge up, gang. Now you can hear this all over town. It would probably take about an hour. A lot of hard work.
The whole way.
You can imagine you're hearing in that building, everybody pounding on this
Nice and slow.
Perfect.
Wow.
That
Great.
was really well done in unison as well.
Yeah, both can tip forward and fall over. Now we're going to see if we've been effective. If we look down below on top of the cue blocks, hopefully there's a little space. So we've lifted her up off those keel blocks. Now comes the fun and dangerous job. Somebody has to crawl under that 300-ton vessel and remove the keel blocks. Anybody, any volunteers?
Pull them towards me.
Yeah, there they go. And here, I think it was kind of like a reward for getting to do that dangerous job. The men would stay underneath while the boat was launched, and everything went whizzing by their nose. Imagine that was quite a little thrill. They get to stay under that. And plus, you'd have to trust that everybody else did their job properly. Whew. Okay, those are out of the way. Next thing, we need to disconnect the sliders and the groundways. And those are our iron dogs, and we would say dogs out. So you're going to pound on the end of that wedge, drive it right through. You pound it through, it should try that iron dog right at it. Yeah.
Get them all laid. So.
I'll see one more there.
All right.
Great. There's our iron dog's out. Ooh, looks good.
We're at the crucial point.
There's only one thing on either side holding this boat back. So we're going to get them to share, and we're going to count to 3 so it all happens at the same time. If you could just set your mallets on top of here.
Go ahead, Don.
Oh, you don't want to share the
I don't
other?
want to hit you.
Go ahead, I'll take two.
Are you ready? We're going to count to 3. 1,
What do we got?
2, 3.
Knock down.
There we go.
Lovely.
Hey, hey.
Great. Now we have a reward for our hard-working employees. There you go. By launching a boat in Lunenburg. You don't have to tell people the size. Thank you very much.
Hey, Larry, put that hammer in your pocket.
Thank you so much.
We track them down. 6-year-olds have tried that one.
Thank you.
I've seen this before and always wondered what it was. Now you know. Yeah. So that's from one of the Carlson shipping boats.
This is off of one of my uncle's ships that he donated to it. It's a 90mm harpoon gun. They had 50 and 60, and this is 90. It's the most powerful. You don't want to get hit with one of these things.
Just get up on the thing, Janet, so he can take a picture of you up at the controls there.
There you are. And when you fired that gun, let me tell you something, you've never heard anything like that go off in your life. And there was a line attached to it. The harpoon has two sections to it with a line. See that when she comes out, the line will be caught by the end of the harpoon, and that way it sort of stabilizes it through flight. And the line right here is all coiled up, so when the harpoon flies out, the line won't catch on anything. She's sort of angled like right here. And this is what the gunner saw.
Take the camera down a second.
Just let me get this piece here. So there's the trigger mechanism, obviously. And you take the shells in and out by moving this lever here. It'd slide this deal here. Take the shell out, take the shell in, lock it. And the gun would just swivel. It won't now, but it'll swivel up or down or back or forth. You can move her. And you just aim her right down that sight right there. And bang. This is Dory building here. Wooden dory shop. Unbelievable. This is how to build a rowboat here. All right. There's a harpoon there, you can see.
You gotta get all this.
These harpoons, look, you can tell they had obviously been actually used because of the bends in them. There's the gun there.
Oh, this is all about the,
Oh yeah.
All of
this
the
is all
Carlson shipping.
Carl?
Sure, this is it right here. This is the
Well,
whole
you know, I
shooting
didn't
match.
bring a flash in here.
Yeah, yes, you are allowed to. These came from Carlson's plant whaling
Yeah.
That's his nephew.
warehouse.
That was my uncle Carl Carlson. I've been out on his whaling ships, worked for 4 summers on these ships.
He had the Chester and the Armac.
Yeah, well, he had the ones I was on was the Torfin and the Torin. The Torin was the last ship I was out on.
So sure.
I don't have mine.
Now they're doing
There's
expeditions.
your gun.
Yeah, hold on, just a sec now. Wait a
There's
minute.
another one.
Oh, that's another harpoon gun.
Well, that one has.
See, he never used these are grenade type heads. He never used explosive charges in them because it ruined too much meat. He would shoot them and then reload fast and shoot another one again. The shells.
My husband's
Here's
seen
the
them
wadding
drive
for the
on his
gun.
brother's.
Yeah, there you go.
You can't miss them. They've got this 6-foot high black dorsal fin
These
out
harpoons.
in the water.
Yeah.
In an aquarium that falls over. They get kind of big muscle tone.
Yeah, that was a hell of a gun shooting one of those.
Yes,
sir.
Largest whale, that's the blue one.
Oh, you can get focus in on every one.
Yeah, hold on, just everybody's just easy now. Just
That's still set up, I saw that.
yeah, well, this is there. Here's the plant.
I've seen pods of
Let's see.
from British.
Yeah, I've got pictures of that.
Boats where we've run into
Go down.
pods of killing them.
Focus each one.
There's the flintsing starting on a whale.
They're very vocal.
Yeah,
There's the fish plant there.
Okay, yeah.
They have a language all their own.
yeah.
And this is from the crow's nest. You can look down on the gun there.
When they speed up humpback sounds, it just sounds like bird sounds.
Oh, really?
There's a shot there, point blank. This is down at the whaling plant.
Where do you see the
They
knives?
pulled them up.
Taking the flesh off the wheels.
Cleansing.
Have a really neat print.
Just look at the tabs.
Keller whale.
Not used to marine wheels in the processor.
Takes the slides of higher like lines.
Yeah.
3 whales.
Yeah.
Blubber hooks.
This one.
Bird, look at see this?
Neat print.
Oh, rib cutter.
Oh, I can feel my good now.
That's a killer pipe.
Bone saw.
There's the gun there.
Cleansing. Yeah.
We don't get any bottlenose dogs this far.
No bottom.
No, they're off Florida and they come as far north of us for
That's the Torin right here. That's the last one that I went out on because she had this unique observation deck right there. That the crow's nest or here, that was the best 2 places to stay to see everything. I remember staying in those cabins right there, last 2 windows. The gunner stayed here, and either the first mate or chief engineer would stay on. That's the best quarters right in there. Of course, there's the wheelhouse and there's the open wheelhouse. And you can see the gun on the bow. Now this is he had this ship here before this one. That's the last one that I was on. This is the old Chester. She had steam engines in her. The Torin was diesel. This had a steam engine in her. It's the only steam engine on a ship I've ever rode in. There she used to come in there and
How was
drop.
that engine fired? By oil?
The steam? Yeah, she just oil to boilers to steam. And this one was just a diesel engine block. You'd start with compressed air. You know, it'd make a sound like.
Yeah.
That's how you started her blocks.
Were they mainly interested
You got a
in
mackerel
whale
on that
meat?
lens, Janet?
Yeah, pretty much. Everything. Whale meat, and then the oils off the other products. The bone, the guts was made into chicken feed, and absolutely everything was used up in the whale. Chicken mash or chicken products.
Yeah.
But I mean, they brought it right down to the wire.
Pictures all the time, they come out so
Yeah, there's the old Chester right there. The Torfin used to be her original name, and that was the Torin right here. And there she is. Just you can see the whales tied to the side of her right there.
Yeah.
See, there was no factory ship. They went out about 100 miles to Emerald Banks, is where they shot the whales, and then they towed them back in. 70, 90, 100 miles is about how far they'd go up. There's a good shot there.
So they could only do one wheel at a time?
Yeah, what they do is they'd shoot a whale, and because it would slow the ship speed down, they would fill it full of air and buoy it. And then they'd mark it where it was on a chart. Then they go to the second, then the third, then the fourth one they tie it to the side. And on the tail, they take a flincer knife and they'd make little markings of which whale was caught, so they'd be processing the oldest whale first. You could see these little V's cut in the tail. And what they do is the fourth one they would tie to the end of the ship, and they would backtrack 3, 2, 1. And they usually tied 2 to one side and 2 to the other. And the ship had a chasing speed of 18 knots, would cruise around 16 knots. By the time you got 4 whales on her, you were going about 14 knots by towing the whales. 4 whales would slow her down 4 knots.
Well, I would imagine.
You can see the notches on the whale's tail.
Yeah, let's see.
This one, right there.
Yeah, they
see
mark.
the
Yeah, they
notches.
mark the tail to tell them which ones to process first. Obviously, the first one shot is the first one you want processed.
Yeah.
There's the old Chester's
Yeah.
life preserver there, and these are the flincer knives they used to process them. Remember on the Tancock Island Ferry, we were talking to the one guy, and he said, "You remember the old flincer down there? He was like 300 years old." I know the old guy used to sharpen those things. Because all he'd do, he had the stone wheel, would go round and round, and all he'd do was sharpen those. There's a flincer right there cutting into the whale. And then they use the blubber hooks and a winch to, pull back the blubber. It's like almost like peeling a banana is what it looked like. There's some more flincer knives there. I tell you what, those knives right there, you could shave your face with those things.
They even have the men's initials in the blade.
Oh wow, yeah. Well, Arch was one of them. I wonder if that, yeah. I wonder if that was
You
Arch.
should be a tour guide here, for heaven's sake,
I think
all
he's
knowledge you know.
Listening is drinking it in.
Yeah, that's how they did it. They'd catch them, and right after the whale was shot, they had this long rod with an air hose. They fill it full of air, and then go on to the next ones, and the fourth, and they backtrack and tie them up. Because you couldn't tie them, you ruin your chasing speed. You could get her up to 18 knots, but that's only for about 30 minutes before your engine blocks will start getting too high. You're not supposed to run those engines that fast.
Did they ever kill sperm whales? Did they ever get
No, really, they hunted fin whales. That's really about all they did. So. But I'll tell you one thing, it was a wild thing to see out there.
Well, they would aim for the heart or the lung of the whale, but what if they missed?
Well, sometimes the shot would go into the more, back part of the whale, and the harpoon would lock in there, and they just pull it in with a rope till they got it up close, and then bang, they'd go for more sensitive area. But it was always wild. You could always tell one of the signs of a good shot was when the whale would spout. Once you saw the blood shooting up, you know that you'd done something.
Well, that's what they'd aim for.
Yeah, they'd aim for. Well, what they do is they'd fire the gun when the whale would surface. They'd fire it, and the harpoon would fly out. And about the time you saw the fin pop up is usually when the harpoon hit it. It just depends on where it was, how close it was, and you're out there bouncing and rolling around. I mean, the gunner had his work cut out for him.
And it doesn't take a whale that long to breathe. They're not up there
No,
on the surface out.
What happens is, what's the deal is, up on the barrel, up on the crow's nest, they can see the whale surfacing way before the gunner can because they're up high.
Yes.
And then they look down and they'll call to the gun deck, and they can tell him, he has a thing like it's almost like a compass idea. He has markers on there, and they can tell him approximately where to aim the gun so he doesn't have to swing it too much. And then he gets a position, he'd stand down like this and sight it in like that, and then when the whale would surface, he only had to make a slight adjustment on the aim, and bang, and when that gun went off, you saw those ships, it would shake that ship like you have never, you never felt anything like that before. And there's the scrimshaw on the whale's tooth.
Well, could you explain the gun to me? These are 90mm shells.
Right.
And they
There's a
close.
lever, right. They lift that lever up and they would open the back to the shell, and then they put the shell in and shut and lock it, yeah.
And the harpoon would be in the shaft of the cannon.
Right, the harpoons, you'd pick it up, you'd tie a line onto the harpoon, and see the reason,
Through here?
yeah, it would go up here when you put the harpoon, it'd be there, and what happens is, when the harpoon comes out, the line obviously slides to the back end. You want the line on the back end of the harpoon because it stabilizes the flight of the harpoon through flight. It'll keep it from tumbling.
You put about 50 feet of rope on it?
Oh, more than that. I mean, there's quite a line on there. It just depends on where they were shooting them from. Some days we were out there and you couldn't get that close. We've gone out one time. We got 4 whales in one day, And we shot the first 3, boom, 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 like that. And the fourth one, we were chasing it around for about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Finally, we got a shot on it. It was a long distance shot. It was like I don't know if it was a smart whale or what, but it just wouldn't get near our ship. And the problem is you try and slow down when you approach the whale because the propeller gives off a lot of sonic waves down there, and that sort of scares them. So you try and come up on them not too fast. But this thing was running, and we were chasing it, you know, full speed. And then by then you're scaring it, so you're not going to get a close shot. So you really have to just, you know, take a long. I've seen harpoon guns. This one gunner, Einar Abramson, from Sandefjord, Norway, he could take these unbelievably long shots. But then again, the penetration of the harpoon, then you got to worry about because you know she's flying out a long way. It doesn't have quite